Hi, this is Kim Watson. Welcome to this week's weekly outlook for cryptocurrencies. Now, thank you very much for your comments and remarks and emails that I received regarding last week's report. Particularly, it's obviously hit a few nerves in a few places, but there was general support for it was very positive. And I just thought I'd just take one line further, because it's sometimes when you diss something or you say, well, that's a little bit more nonsense, that you should give some foundation behind it. So I just wanted to take Bitcoin and continue with Bitcoin a little bit, and the expectation that the exchange traded fund is going to be approved. Now there's quite a excitement in the market. I'm hearing, but I'm looking technically. I'm not seeing at the moment, unless we're going to start seeing some further push through here. But let's just run through some history and some fundamentals that actually occurred. Now I'm going to take you right back to these highs here and look at a couple of dates here. On the 11th of December, the CBOE futures contract was finally released. So that was the 11th of December. You can see the excitement and some of the build up leading into that, which pushed up quite well. And then on the 17th of December, I believe it was, that we had the CME equivalent of the Bitcoin future. So there's a couple of dates in there. You can see what happened from there. That was the absolute high, around about 20,000 that we saw on the 17th of December, and it's not recovered. Now we've seen discussions and talk about exchange traded funds way back here in July. There was expectation. In fact, it was late July that the SEC actually rejected an application from the brothers Tyler, Cameron and Winklevoss. That was the second time that it got turned down. And in fact, you look sort of late July. Well, the markets there gave off soon afterwards. Now, I'm not the only one that knows about the current application. There's actually 9, I believe it is 9 different potential exchange traded funds that are going to be looked to be launched here, which could give a decent boost, really, because unlike futures, they may have to be produced. When you've got an exchange traded fund, you have to buy the physical Bitcoin. So that there is the reason and there is logic behind why you see Bitcoin going up, but it's not really going up at the moment. And as I said, I'm not the only one that knows that the 5th of November rather is the deadline day. And I do wonder whether these markets are staying much more sedated on the basis of, well, it didn't happen last time, will it happen this time? And is it just the rah here out there trying to push it up? Anyway, it's sitting pretty flat at the moment. We may see a move up into November nearer the time, with speculators coming on board and more pushing it up with an expectation that it could push up. But thereafter, we could see one of these big, if the answers, if the man from Del Monte, or the SEC as it may be, says no, we could see this rolling off quite considerably. So there is some logic behind it fundamentally, but it could make it more tradable by more people. And exchange traded funds are very vogue and have been for some time. They're easy to trade, so we could see that happen. And of course, you get all the knock-on options and everything else that come with those as well. So it could create quite a stir. But whether it will is another matter. There are obviously, as I said, people expecting it to happen. If it does, we could, sure, it could take off quite reasonably well. If it doesn't, well, we're going to see these lows taken out. For sure, some of the disappointment could be there. Anyway, so where are we at technically then? So that ends my thoughts on the potential. So technically, no change really, is it? I mean, we've sat the whole of the week here, barely moving anywhere significant. Still looking for that sort of push above the 6,760 or around about that area before it becomes more of a bullish move. It's last week we saw this little dip in the market. It's pushed up, it's broken this sort of near-term trend line, but it's basically sidestepped out of it. It's hardly sort of a major push, but as I said, as we move, perhaps we get closer to November deadline, perhaps we'll get a bit more speculators coming through and a bit more of a build-up. So it's something just to watch as much as anything else, what happens there. As I said, if it doesn't happen on the 5th of November, it'll be interesting to see. Bearing in mind it hasn't risen quite the same yet. If it builds up that sort of, you see the fundamentals coming through from that, whether we'll see another dip is another matter. So, say edging up, pretty much the same as last week. Not a lot to say there at the moment. Okay, so due to request, EOS. So where to here? It wasn't on my map before. It's just I'm just going to go back and look at it from a weekly point of view. What's actually going on here? Again, saw some dizzy heights, but it's way off those at the moment. And again, we've sort of got an obvious area of support sitting around about that $4.79, $4.80 sort of area, $4.86 even. By looks of things, and it's sort of sitting in a very tight range over the last few weeks. Of course, if something was to be given the green light with the exchange traded fund, this could have a drag effect on a lot of these coins and tokens. So pushing up at the moment, back into the trend line at the moment. If it can break past that, of course it makes it a little bit more bullish, and we could see a little bit more of a continuation to the upside there. But has it bottomed out? Potentially. It's got all the sort of same sort of pattern to some aspects as with Bitcoin there. It's put in some lower lows there, sorry, higher lows even, get the right way around, and pitched up a little bit here. It's whether or not it can push on through this trend here and actually start breaking these prior highs here. If you can start doing that, well then I would be much more bullish on these. Looking at Ripple, Ripple's volume, I just looked at the volume. It probably halved last week in terms of what it was the previous week on a day-by-day basis. It's just not gone anywhere too much. Good news that sort of built in there around Santander and banks getting involved, but it's not really sort of riding the fundamental excitement. It has come back to sort of prior areas of resistance, that sort of which are now providing us with some support, and it may pitch up further. Of course, if it does start pitching up, well, looking towards 0.60, somewhere around there, maybe push onwards and start climbing again more solidly, but at the moment struggling. Ethereum's not done too much either here at the moment. It's been steady old down, but it's a bear flag in this big move down here. Is it actually ever going to do anything? I mean, at the moment it's got higher lows in there, but it's not managing higher highs at the moment, and it's just sort of into a wedge pattern. It's really, I mean, the volumes are there, but not as much as it's been. And it looked like it really sold off on some solid volumes back here. Where to now? Well, say with this sort of slightly up movement, the volumes, if you draw a trend line across most of the volume there, and it's off, so it doesn't look like there's a solid sort of belief in Ethereum at the moment. Moving across to Tron. Okay, so we've seen a bit more positivity in here. Certainly pushed in confirmed another higher lows, a couple of higher lows here, and it looks like it's maybe got a little bit more oomph there. If it can break on through, break past this where it is at the moment here, if it can hold on to the gains and push on upwards, well, it does look like it's got potential further upside. There is a bit of for the old technical analysis out there, there's a bit of an inverted head and shoulders as well. If that was to work its way out, maybe we would see it up around about the 0.035 area. Okay, and finally today, I'm just going to cover BNB. Been looking at this, it's an interesting one. It's it's walked out the trend line there, and is slowly rising up there. It's just slowly rising up. There's some half decent volume through, buying and selling actually, but actually the buying day slightly better than the selling days, and we are seeing a slight increase in the upside there. So that's pretty much it for this week. It's, as I said, interesting week. It'll be an interesting week coming, or a couple of weeks coming up as we move towards that 5th of November. Could be some fireworks one way or the other there. Have a great week. Bye for now.